These are the Paleo Hebrew pictographs, one of the very many reasons why we say Eʋegbe is ancient Hebrew. The very first character on here is pronounced Aleph in the scholarly realm, and they say it means an ox. Well, in Eʋegbe, we say Ale. Ale means a sheep. Okay, now let's look at the kaf. That is on the second row. The kaf is a hand. It's a picture of a hand, right? We see some fingers and it's going like this, right? So in Eʋegbe, ka means to search. Ka is to take a morsel of. Third row down, we have ayin. In Eʋegbe, we say ayi. Ayi is a black eyed pea. That is for black eyed peas. And the kernel of the ayi is called nku, which means the eye. Now let's look at the bait. That's how the scholars pronounce it, bait. And they say that it means house. In Eʋegbe, be means take shelter or hide. Now, our traditional thatched houses are called beho. Now let's look at the third character from left to right. It is pronounced gimel in the scholarly realm, and they say it represents foot, camel, and pride. Now, this character actually looks like a farming tool in the Ewe culture, and it is called bolo. Bolo has a hard GB sound, b, bolo. Now let's look at the character that is being pronounced as Dalet in the scholarly realm. And they say it represents a tent door or pathway. Now, it does represent a handle of a door, doesn't it? And in Eʋegbe, do or dogu, that means exit or get out. And the character that's right next to it is being pronounced as hey, and they say it means lo or behold the. And we see a picture of a person with two hands up, like they're either pulling something or they're saying yay, something like that. But in Eʋegbe, if we say he or hey, that means pull it. Now, let's look at what looks like the Y, and it's pronounced vav. It's also pronounced wow. Now, and they say it represents a nail or a tent peg, and this is based on just what it looks like. To somebody, it looks like a tent peg. Now, in Eʋegbe, we say the. The means valley. This is also ve, as in article ve, that is a two-pronged stick. Also can represent a peg. And it also represents a W, which is woo. Woo, when you are wooing something in Eʋegbe, you are spreading your arms out, just like it's shown in the picture. Woo. Now, let's look at the character that is being pronounced Zayin. That is how it is pronounced in the scholarly realm. Zayin is said to represent a plow, and keep in mind that these meanings are derived from what the picture represents. And so we look at it with our Ewe language glasses. Je, ani, je, ani. That is to break ground or to plow. Je, ani. Now, let's look at the het that is right up there. Het, that is how it is pronounced in the scholarly realm. And het is said to represent a tent wall or a fence, and it means separation, is what they tell us. In Eʋegbe, what we see is a type of barricade or separating device. So we will call it che, che, echeanu, echenanu. It barricades or it separates, prevents mixing. Che. All right. Now let's look at the character that is being called tet in the scholarly realm. And they say it represents a basket or snake or to surround. And it is a circle with an X in the middle. Now, this has a couple of meaning in Eʋegbe. This actually looks like the beginnings of a basket weaving in Ewe culture. They start with something like this, and that will be at the very bottom. That is the te of the basket. Now, which means bottom. Now, also, if you tell somebody to mark something, you would say te, that is mark it, and they would make an X, mark it, te. Now let's look at the character that is pronounced yod in the scholarly realm. They say it represents an arm or a hand or work or deed. So Mauli Malvi wrote about this in his book, The Bible is the Black Man's History Book. And he did state that this is Yagboshi. With my Vedome dialect, I would say Yagboshi. Yagboshi simply means a fanning hand. But to take this further, this could be interpreted also as Yashi, which means hand of Yah. Yashi, hand of Yah, hand of the Most High. Now, let's look at what is pronounced Lamed in the scholarly realm. And they tell us that it represents a staff. And that is what the character represents. It looks like a staff. Now, in Eʋegbe, we call staff La Poloti. That is a shepherd staff, not just any ordinary staff. A shepherd staff is La Poloti. Now let's look at the character that looks like a zigzag. It's pronounced Mem in the scholarly realm, and it's said to represent water or chaos. But it's a body of water. We see the zigzag as a body of water. And in Eʋegbe, Mu or Amu is a river. Mu or Amu. This one is one that features a lot in our kete weaving. So pay attention to your kete. You will find a lot of Mu in there. These are how we are preserving these pictographs. Now let's look at what is called Nun. That is how it's called in the scholarly realm. And it is said to represent a seed. Now, and they pronounce it as Nun. In Eʋegbe, a seed is Nuku, Nuku. To me, it actually looks like a germinating seed. And in that case, we would call it Nuku Memie. Nuku Memie, that is germinating seed. Now let's look at the character that is being called Samek in the scholarly realm. And they tell us that it represents a hand on a staff. Okay, I beg to differ. This is actually a representation of what we call in Eʋegbe, sefufu. Sefufu, that is a flower. Now let's look at the character that is written as Pe. It represents a P sound and also doubles as an F sound. Now they say it represents a mouth. It's a depiction of a mouth, and I think we can agree. So in Eʋegbe, to speak is fonu, fonu. Now to see is po. This also is a representation of an eye, which is nku. But the word to see is po, which carries a hard P sound, KP sound, po. Now let's look at the character that is pronounced Tsade in the scholarly realm. And they say it represents a man on his side. Okay, a man on his side. And it represents desire or need. Well, when we look at the character, what does it really look like? It looks like a budding plant, which is che, nu che che, or nuku che che, che ele che che, that is TSE, che. Let's look at the character that is pronounced Qof, QOF, and pronounced that way in the scholarly realm. And they say it represents the sun on the horizon. So the sun is about to set or setting. And when we look at the picture, it does represent the sun setting, right? And what does the sun setting mean in our culture? it means, unfortunately, death, which is ku, ku, that is death. Now let's look at the character that is called resh, and that is what it's known as in the scholarly realm. And they say it represents a head of a person, and it represents first in order. Now, when we look at this pictograph, what do we see? We don't only see a head, but we also see hair, an afro. And in the proper Anglo Eʋegbe pronunciation of hair is ra. Ra is hair. We, the Bedume people, we would say da. But in the Anglo, remember, Anglo means scribe. Anglo means scribe. And in their dialect, this is ra, which is hair. Now let's look at the character that is pronounced as shin in the scholarly realm. And they say it represents teeth. And it looks like teeth, doesn't it? And they say it means to eat or consume or destroy. Now, when we see these teeth, what type of teeth are we seeing? We need to pay attention to the detail. We see a gap just like mine in between the teeth. And this we call so in Eʋegbe. So is the diastema. Now let's look at the last character on the chart, and it is pronounced tav in the scholarly realm. They say it means mark, sign, or covenant. And in Eʋegbe, this is simply tichoga, tichoga, or atichoga. Tichoga means cross. It looks like a cross, doesn't it? This is the Paleo Hebrew or Ancient Hebrew pictograph Ga. Now, Ga is said to represent a twisted rope, and it signifies wickedness or darkness. Now, what is Ga in Eʋegbe? Ga in Eʋegbe is metal. And what do we see on the screen? A twisted metal, which is Ga koso koso or Ga totro, which means metal chains. Indeed, it does represent wickedness or darkness because we know the history of the use of the metal chains. Ga koso koso